Well, what is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Today on the table in front of us is something new from the folks at Maxace. This is the Maxace Goliath II, and this is a big ol' honkin' knife. Now, I have a thing for big knives, to be sure, and this absolutely qualifies. It has a really beautiful pivot. It has a really nice K110 or another version of D2 blade. It is a liner lock, as you can see. We're at about 30% lockup, and it is locked up tight. No wiggle, no rock, no nothing. It is G10 and titanium on the bolsters. It has a titanium pocket clip. Isn't much to look at, but really works. It's a great clip. I saw this on Instagram and found a friend who had one and asked them to pass it along so I could take a look at it. And I legitimately didn't know how big it was going to be until it got here. This is a full-size monster of a knife. And I like that. I like big knives. I like big knives, particularly when they're done well. This one is enormous without being bulky or cumbersome. It is, in fact, very, very comfortable in hand. Now, part of that is that it's a liner lock, right? So it is very equal on both sides. The pocket clip, really simple, helps with that too. There is no hot spot. But, I mean, you guys know I've got almost 4-inch palms, and look how much handle's sticking out the back, right? I mean, so when it first landed, I took it to work and put it to work. And I got to tell you, it's a fantastic work knife. Now, the reason behind that is this K110 blade is just a super high flat grind, right? That comes down to a very thin edge. They did a phenomenal job on the grind on this blade. It's really very nice. So let's get some specs on this beast out of the way. Have I even said the name yet? It's the Goliath II. I'm sure I said that. The Goliath 1 is a knife that I missed, but now that I'm sorry that I did. I would love to get my hands on one of those to try it out. It is a knife that lives up to its name, as I said, Goliath. And it is a real beast of a knife. This one's seen some pocket time, so there's some marks on the titanium, but that actually adds more character than anything. This is just I love this thing. Well, how big is it? All right. So if we line the blade up right there, excuse me, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, just under 4.5 inches of cutting on 4.5 inches of K110 steel, which is really good. The overall knife is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 full inches long. Grip area from behind the choil there, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 3/4. This is a big, big knife. How big is it? Well, here it is up against the Formax, one of the notoriously larger knives that you can buy. And lo and behold, they are the same size. However, the Goliath II here is lighter and a better cutter because of the grind on that blade. Now, don't get me wrong, K110 is never going to last as long. The edge isn't going to last as long as you get on CPM 20CV. But it lasts long enough, and it cuts like crazy. I enjoyed carrying this thing so much. I really did. Let's go ahead, excuse me, I've got something still going on with my throat, and do some size comparisons on knives that you have maybe actually seen. So here it is against the Ritter Hogue, or in this case, what you guys probably know better as the full-size Griptilian. If we line up the pivots, you can see this thing just dwarfs the full-size grip. That makes it look like a mini grip. Speaking of minis, here is the Mini Presidio 2, which is about the same size as the Bug Out, for those of you that have one of those. And as you can see, of course, it's huge. It makes me really happy. Here is the full-size Presidio II in their CF Elite scales. Now this is a full-size knife. The Goliath is just bigger. And a lot of fun. It's fun to carry. It's, as I keep saying, it's fun to work with. It rides the pocket very well. It is not thin. If we line it up here, well, let's use the tools at our discretion. So the blade, the handle at its thickest spot is over half an inch, right? It is in fact 6.68, almost 3/4. God, this thing is huge. The blade itself is 146 thousandths, or just under 4 millimeters. Now, what that means, because it starts reasonably thin, for a knife this thick, under 4 millimeters of blade is reasonably thin, and because the blade itself is, what are we looking at here? Yeah, it's almost 1.5 inches at its widest spot right here. It comes down from reasonably thin stock for a knife this size to a really nice edge. Let's weigh it, because I don't think it's that heavy. I really don't. We'll talk about why in a second. Nope. Yes. Hey, there we go. Look at that. We are 228 grams, or 8 ounces. Now, 8 ounces is heavy. But this monster is over 10. So for a giant knife, it's, it's 9 inches long. Excuse me, it's 10 inches long and it's 8 ounces. That's not that bad. It really isn't. And the way that they've done that, and unfortunately my lighting is not going to show this to you, but the liners in this thing are milled out really beautifully. They did a fantastic job. So they actually have big holes and cutouts in them to keep the weight down, which means that with this nice large blade, right, the balance is a little behind the pivot, but not much. It's very nice. So what I'd like to do, and it's 8 ounces exactly, which is really very cool. So let's see. I have a feeling. So I know it's steel on this side. Yeah. Okay. So the liners are steel, but they are darkened out a little bit to match the dark gray titanium. As you can see, of course, titanium and titanium. It has 3 barrel spacers across the back. Look, it's really a nice design. Simple, elegant, kind of beautiful because of these bolsters up here, right? The blade does not have a lot of billboarding on it. It just says Goliath and then Bowler K110, which is very nice. Beyond that, it is completely clean, and I really like that. So what do you pay for something like this? Well, they are $128. That is an absurdly good deal for this much knife. It really is. Now, I know, D2, K110. But I'm no metallurgist, but I can tell you that the few knives that I have are in K110 hold an edge at least as well as D2 and seem to resist corrosion better. Now, D2 is a mostly or partially stainless steel. K110 seems to be even just a little bit better. And with D2 edge retention and a little bit better corrosion resistance, this is a fine blade on a really well-made knife. Now, I haven't had it apart, and I might. Or I might not. I don't know. Like I said, this one doesn't belong to me, but I may change that. We'll see. I really like this thing. And I think you will too, if you like big knives. If, for example, you think that the Bug Out, or in this case, the Presidio II, is the right size knife for EDC, you're not going to want the Goliath. But I do. I mean, what's on the table here that's big? Well, we have the Alien Knives DX2, which is a big knife. Not really in comparison to the Goliath. And we have the Helix by Concept Knives. These are both big knives by anyone's stretch of the imagination, and yet compared to the Goliath, they are just dwarfed. Now, I have carried and used both of these. Both of these are excellent tools. They really are very good. In fact, this review is already out. There's a review coming out very shortly. This is a better cutter because of that tall, thin blade. It's basically a kitchen knife on the end of a folding handle. And I think that is fantastic. I really do. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Stuff like this is not for everyone. I get that. But if you're like me and you like things taken a little, well, if venturing into the absurd isn't an issue for you, and you like stuff that's a little ridiculous, but also totally functional and very cool for that, and you don't want to spend $200 or $300 or $400 on something like this, there's something like that. I've had a number of, as I said, a number of Maxace knives, and I've never had a bad one. This is another example of them just doing a really great job. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This has been the Maxace Goliath II. I have been a Therapeutic Edge. I really appreciate you watching today. Please subscribe if you have not already. And if you have subscribed, well, thank you. And we'll see you next time.